good to have everyone here with Amber Johnson today. And before we get into her story and letting her share a little bit, again, I just want to welcome you all. Leadership Now series really is about bringing different people in from our community, people who have a message, role models, mentors, who have something, tools to inspire us, to help us, to breathe a breath of fresh air during this time. And if you want to be a speaker, absolutely let us know. If you've missed our previous ones, you can go to our website, drivenleadership.com. You can see some of the webinars there and click and it'll give you to our YouTube page where you can see all the webinars. Before we begin, there is a chat bar at the bottom of your screen. So if you want to chat, if you want to ask questions, you're going to click that on. Make sure that you get it to all the panelists and attendees. If you have a question, we love to make this interactive. So if you have a question, absolutely put your question there. Raise your hand if you want to come in. We can bring you in audio. If you want to raise your hand and say, hey, I want to be a video and ask Amber questions, absolutely we do that as well. So as we get started, you know, Amber, you are, when we were talking about what you're going to talk about, magic, you know, overcoming obstacles and making magic happen. You are one of those people who make magic happen. And Eric and I were creating this list of who we wanted on, you know, the interview, and your name was on it. But before we could even ask you, in true Amber fashion, you said, hey, how can I be a speaker? That's literally how you live your life. It's like whenever you put something out there, even other people are thinking things, it's like you just step into it. And before I actually turn this over and get into your story, just for those of you who don't know, 8 years ago, literally 8 years ago, it was so crazy. I was looking at the calendar. Your mom and dad came to our very first 3-day experiential class. And at that time, it was Leadership Foundation, which we've now rebranded to The Forge. And your mom had sat on a curling iron, had a third-degree burn on her butt, and she was just like, no, I'm not making an excuse. I'm going to show up. And within the class, there was a process that I needed some information from you. And we couldn't get a hold of you. Like, I'm emailing you. Your parents are like, she doesn't do email. You still don't do email.
No, I do not.
That was my first insight and introduction. And your mom and dad came out of this class, and your mom said, I want to have a better relationship with my daughter. And I want her to know who she is, what she's capable of. And that is how I got to meet you. And then I had you in bold. And just to watch the shift and pivot in you in the last 4 years, not just 4 years, 8 years, has been insane, Amber. So I'd love to know your story. Just how did you get involved in your skincare line with what you're doing now?
So I have always been passionate about everything that I do. I've always been all in naturally. So it was interesting. When my parents went to the class, I saw a shift in my parents that was probably the most exciting thing I've ever experienced, and I needed at that time. I was in business at that time. I was in business 12 years, and I was newly married. I had 2 babies, and I needed my mom. I needed my mom a lot right then. And so she really, really stepped into that place, which was really nice, because my mom was a comedian. She was very busy. My parents owned a health club. They were a little bit too much into their entrepreneurship and less into the family. Even though they did it for the family, they kind of missed a piece that I think that Driven for Life, or it used to be called Driven for Life, Driven Leadership helped with. So it really helped mold my family, and that helped me grow too, because I always knew what I wanted. I love skincare. At 12 years old, I was doing facials in my bathroom. I was obsessed with skincare. My parents' friends owned Mother's Market. It used to be on 17th Street. It's a big health food store. And I make a joke that Mother's never hired me. I never left. So because my parents' friends owned it, I would go in and I gave myself a job. And announced that I had to, of course I did. So they finally one day go, Amber, we need to actually interview you. You have to fill out paperwork. You can't just show up every day and fiddle with all the testers. Because all I did was play with makeup all day. So They hired me as a bag girl. I was in charge of the bagging groceries, which was the best job in the world for me because I'm nosy. So everything that was coming in, I asked I literally couldn't let an item go in a bag without finding out if they tried it, if they had it before. So I just started registering bestsellers and things that were new. And I kind of knew, and then if someone was getting something, I go, oh, this is so good, it's one of our bestsellers. I kind of just would register those things. And if there was a return, Nosy Nelly had to be right there to find out why they were returning it, what was wrong with it, what happened. This is in the 90s before there was computers. So when the buyers would be ordering stuff, I go, oh no, we had like 7 returns last week of those. And tons of people are buying these. And there's an article on this and everyone's coming in for these ingredients. So people would started to come to me at 15, asking me, what should we order? What should we do? So I just really loved helping people and figuring it out. And that was just always in me. And I always knew I'd make skincare. So my grandmother, who loved QVC, she was 4'8", Jewish from Chicago. She used to say, honey, you're going to sell all your schmutza there. You're going to sell everything on QVC. So we used to watch QVC and I watched how they sold skincare. And that was my goal in life. I'm going to have a skincare line on QVC. And that was really super important to me. So I ended up going to UCLA for cosmetic ingredients and went to school for esthetician. And I worked for Dr. Fulton, who was a very famous dermatologist. He made benzoyl peroxide and retin-A. He was an acne doctor. Another one who never hired me. I never left. I had acne and he was my doctor. And I would just hang out and he let me chart things. So I got to chart how many pimples people had. And I just kept going.
Well, and I love what you said, Nosy. And when you and I talked last week, you said that was your nickname is Nosy Nelly. Yeah. Because you had your nose in everything.
Everything.
And what I know about your dad, so your dad is absolutely just like so smart. His theoretical is off the charts and he is so curious. And then your mom was absolutely the most independent. Nobody's going to ever tell her what to do. Little tiny thing, little tiny skinny, itty bitty thing.
I call her Tic Tac. She's a Tic Tac mom. You can put her in your pocket.
Right.
4'8", 90 pounds.
But
She's the tiniest thing.
You have 2 parents who are completely opposite. Mm-hmm. And there are things within our parents that there are times that we don't like those things. And at the same time, they're amazing strengths that as we get older, we literally take them on. And I see pieces of your dad, this curiosity, this hunger for knowledge. And then I see this spitfire in your mom that is not willing to ever take no for an answer, that when you get knocked down, you get back up, which turns us into, overcoming obstacles. So for those people who are on here who don't know your story, within the 4 years, when you went to Bold, your mom had just been diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. And things had shifted. Your grandma had just died. You were going through a divorce. Mm-hmm. Like everything was falling apart. Yet, how did you continue to shift, to pivot, to overcome those obstacles to get where you're at? Because you were on track as of this year to increase your business 100% for 4 years in a row.
Correct.
400% growth.
I know.
How did you do that in the midst of adversity?
Well, I really do bring everything back to driven leadership. It came to me in such an amazing time. My mom and dad took the class. And like I said, it just gave the structure that our family needed so bad. And a leadership from my father and a leadership from my mother. My mother was a comedian. And after that, she started working with Joan Rivers and she just took off in comedy. She really just went after it. It was amazing to watch. At the time, like you said, my grandma just died, who was my best friend, the one who wanted me on QVC. My husband was cheating and we were getting a divorce. I had a 2 and a 3-year-old and my mother got a few months to live. And my mother asked me to go. By the way, I didn't know my mom was diagnosed with a few months to live until later, but she lived 2 years after her diagnosis because it was mind over matter. My mom was not going out. So my mom paid for me to go to a Bold class, and I didn't need to go. I said, I have 2 kids. I have so much going on. And she paid for it. I said, send Anthony, my ex-husband, which was very nice of me to do because he was driving me nuts and he wasn't communicating. And I was thinking, I'm perfect. So they're the ones who need work, not me.
All those other people, right? It's
all everyone else's issues, right? So they sent him, and I was so surprised that he went, because, but he really did want his family back, and he wanted to make it work, and that's why he went. So he went to the class, and he came back so much. Even though we're divorced, it was the best thing that could have ever happened to us, because he learned how to communicate. He learned to lead with his heart. He was very cold. And so all the little issues that he had in life, and he wanted to grow a business, and so he went in there for leadership, but he realized he learned so much about himself, and he's a better parent now. He's a better person. So I look back at what my mom did when my mom was given a few months to live, and she knew there's some little secrets out there to make people better. This was it. She found it. Now, my parents did a million workshops. I'll tell you, my parents, there was something called Summit in the 80s, Summit workshops in the 80s and 90s. I used to go to Summit workshops because they didn't have a babysitter for me. So I was like a 9-year-old in workshops doing all kinds of cool shit. So my parents definitely worked it, but they found this was different. This was better. This is so much bigger and better and thought outside the box than anything they ever did. So I look back, and I think the gift my mom gave to everyone she loved, everyone, we sent a lot of people through there, was to really learn to love yourself and to break through things and to grow. And so the gift my mom, so when my mom, like I said, I didn't know she was passing, was really pushing me to go, I said, fine, I'll go. And it was by far the best thing I've ever done for myself. And I didn't think I needed that much work until I was in there, and I realized, all these little things that I wasn't doing and communicating, and I grew leaps and bounds. I think when people are looking for it too and open to it, it's such a difference, and I really did want a better relationship with everybody, and I wanted a better business. And when the sky was falling, and I tell people, it reminds me of like when everything's caving in, right? So it's like my grandma died, I'm getting divorced, my mom dies, my dad's remarrying, I have all these things that all my little safety nets are falling. As I'm falling, I said I could either fall or I could just grow wings. And I grew little baby wings, and I just needed to fall. And you don't look back, you just have to keep going. And even though those are really important to me for part of my story, like I went through a lot in a very short time, I also work really hard on not making that my story. Like, you know what I mean? So that's a hard place to be, because I don't want to pretend like it didn't happen. So people, when they go through something that's really hard, you're allowed to have that, but also don't be like a victim to that. And that's a hard place to be. When you've been through something, and I had a health scare and I had all these things, I don't want to be a victim to that. Genetically, cancer's in my family. I don't have a very good genetics. And, but that's not my mantra. It's not my, a lot of people walk around with a lot of issues, and the less we give it attention, but not ignore it, right, but the less we give attention, the more we can grow. So when everything's going to shit, I focus on what's the best outcome? Where can we go? When everything's falling, where do you want to go? And just focus on that. I can get zoomed in on what I need, and I can swim or fly or run or wherever I can to get to that place. And there's times I like right now, this is the pandemic. This is a great excuse for people to not do anything. If you want to just sit back and not do anything, hold on. I just want to, something popped up. This is a great excuse I noticed for a lot of my friends. If they want to have an excuse not to get things done, this is perfect. People can live on this pandemic for 10 years on the reasons why they didn't start a business or get something done or finish that. There's so many reasons, but this also can be the motivation to get up in the morning and get dressed and keep it going, even if you're stuck in your house, and all the goals that you set. And it's just a mindset. If you can get to that place, you can go anywhere.
Well, that's why I just actually popped up a poll for people, because what you just said, you talked about, you had a choice, because and this is PG-13, when shit hits the fan, you have to figure out, you have two options. You can either get stuck and be a victim, or you can grow those little baby wings that help you go, okay, so what's next? And things are tough. And when we have a choice, when we get frustrated and things don't go right, first and foremost, how do we handle it? And we have to be aware of our behaviors before we can ever shift. And it's okay. It's okay to feel the hurt. It's okay. It's okay to be sad. But we have a choice. When we get out of it, we can shift. And then we have, okay, how do I get my little baby wings? And what I know about you, Amber, more than anything is that you have that ability to watch you over and over and over. You get knocked down, you get back up, you get knocked down, you get back up. Even in the midst of, so before the pandemic, you had just moved into your new office.
Right.
And you were killing it.
Yeah.
Facial Lounge is beautiful. People are coming, you're full up. And then all of a sudden, boom, you're not an essential business. And you have a staff. So you're one of the best estheticians out there with this incredible skincare line. And all of a sudden the doors get shut. What did you do to pivot? How did you shift?
You know, I had a lot of, I have a couple sayings I say. One of my sayings is win an Oscar. That was my mom saying. So when she found out she had cancer and people were freaking out because, you know, she had stage 4 cancer. We all know how serious that is, right? And to me and in my family, cancer is not the death, because there's a lot of people, most of my family are survivors. But stage 4 and that type, we just knew. So she goes, you're going to win an Oscar and you're going to tell everyone I'm fine. I'm going to make it. And I'm going to live. So I just kept thinking, whatever, when people are like, oh my God, this guy's fine, it's going to be fine. It's temporary. And I always tell people, you don't freak out until it's time to freak out. I didn't freak out with my mom watching her die until she died, because what is it going to do? So when the pandemic's hitting, and I was like, we're not going to freak out until it's time to freak out. And then they're like, the doors are closing. I'm like, okay, I think it's time to freak out. But I'm like, okay, wait, I wasn't expecting this. And then I go, okay, it's not time to freak out until, you know what I mean? Until this place closes for good, I'm not going to freak out, and it's not going to close for good. So getting right in the mirror, and I actually learned that from Driven Leadership and from the Bold class. I got right in the mirror, and I do it a lot. And I have to say, you got this. Yeah. And I have to give myself a pep talk, and I have to look at myself right in the face and go, whatever today brings, you got this. And you're going to figure it out. And I don't turn off. I don't lay down. I don't watch TV. I haven't watched TV in 9 years. I actually watched TV for the first time because my friend wanted me to watch 90 Day Fiancé. And I'm like, oh my God, don't get me hooked on this. And it was the first time I actually sat down and watched TV in 9 years. There's a commercial that Maserati or Lamborghini doesn't have a commercial because people who drive their cars don't watch TV. And that changed my life. I said, I'm never watching TV again. Instead of watching TV, I journal. I take time in writing things. I write my goals. I stare in the mirror and talk to myself. I do everything except I listen to music, but keeping your brain and reminding yourself it's going to be okay. And everything's temporary. Everything's temporary, even when it's the worst case scenario. And people can take the worst case scenario and make it the fuel to their fire to really just launch, you know? And that's what I'm going to do. We are going to come out of this ahead. We're going to be the company that they're going to say, how did they do it? Because I want people to know, no matter what's going on, we could treat people right. You know, Eric he consults with me, which is by far my biggest secret for my company. But having someone to lean on and to ask questions and make sure we're doing things and having a heart and ethical, that goes so far. So the team I have, they don't want to leave. When we come back, we're going to be so all in. It's going to be such a beautiful thing. So I think a lot of companies are, they don't care about their people. And I think that when you lead with your heart, everyone wants to follow. I always say, do what you love and money will follow. And I love what I do. And I want everyone no words have to be said. When you love what you do, it just naturally happens. So I'm just focusing on the things that we can make. So we're doing online sales. So I focused a lot on my online sales and my Instagram. I never put my face on Instagram before for my company. So I made videos and put myself on the Instagram, and it did really well. So that was kind of fun to see. I just never really wanted to be the face of my company, but I think that people, when they see heart, they know everyone cares. And our skincare is made with so much integrity. There's so much ugly in skincare. And people are home and they're stuck and they want to feel good and they want to look good and they want to come out of this looking better. And right now, no one's getting facials and they're not getting their eyebrows done and they're not getting their hair colored and they're not getting their nails done. Girls are not feeling good. So a face mask and those little things make us feel good. We don't want to leave with blackheads and pimples and, you know, we're out of makeup and all those things. So I think that it's, even though assuming is the worst thing. So the first thing I go to is I assume that no one has money because no one's making money. And I was just going to sit down and I go, I can't assume for people. That's the worst. That's the one thing I work hard on is never, 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 never ever assume, and I do, and I turn it off real quick. So I assumed, because I hear all these stories, and then I go, no, people are allowed to. So I did a home facial, I did a little video, and we sold out because people want to feel good. And even if someone doesn't have a lot of money, women will take time and buy a lipstick. We will buy whatever it is to feel good and look good, because as women, that makes us confident, that brings us, and those are okay things. I tell people there's something called, people think it's selfish, it's self-full. When we work on ourselves and we give back to ourselves, we fill ourselves up. Full. You're allowed to fix something you don't like. So whoever's telling you you're not, that's not okay. Now trying to look like someone else is a different story, but looking your best in yourself, women are allowed to do that. We get shamed a lot for trying to work on ourselves, and I give people that place that they can grow and be whatever they want to be. So
so Simon Sinek, he talks about starting with your why, and
Mhm.
when people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And going back into why wouldn't you want to be the face of Facial Lounge? Because it's your heart, it's your passion, it's the why that fuels everyone else to go, wait,
Mhm.
I want to be self-full. I want to take care of myself. I want to
Mhm.
know. And that goes back into even the story, because who you are one of the most confident assured people in who you are. You don't care. I mean, you care, but you don't care.
No, I don't. Yeah.
Your mom was a twig.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she has a story. She had an eating disorder. They were owners
Mhm.
of the gym. That wasn't okay. And you come out like your mom. And
Mhm.
you are proud in who you are. But Amber, that's because of who you are and what you stand for. And it's only, no, I'm going to do this. I'm going to put myself out there. It empowers other people to do the same. And it
Correct.
gives them their little baby wings to fly.
Mhm. Yeah. And that's so important to me. I feel like women, when you come in for a facial and you have to take off your makeup and you're vulnerable and you have scarring and you have pimples and whatever, even women who've had breast cancer and they have their scars, there's all these insecurities that I get to see. And there's a safe place that we can give, and my staff, everyone gives this really safe place to make, no matter what you look like, to feel good. I don't care how big you are, how little you are, what issues you have. Women, we are so amazing, and when we love ourselves, that radiates more than anything. A smile and confidence. Interesting, random thing, but I used to take these classes. They're called S Factor. They're pole dancing classes. It has nothing to do with the pole. Someone told me about it. It's all about women's self-confidence. It's about tapping into your feminine side. And there's big girls, skinny girls, old girls, doctors, lawyers, moms, and there's this really girl who just didn't, very unattractive. Okay, I wouldn't want to put her down, but just real unattractive and real weird shaped body. I mean, there's nothing. I couldn't even believe she was in the class, which is not like me, right? And so you go to these classes and there's, like I said, it's like a 2-hour meditation. It's a really cool thing. Well, a few weeks later, I got to run into her again. I had a class with her, and whatever blossomed in those few weeks was probably the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. And it changed how I think, because she looked so beautiful. And because everyone has this moment where they kind of dance for the class, but like I said, has nothing to do with the pole. It's this place that we get to, and it's just, and her confidence just, and it's just a dance, and how she moved in the room. I went, holy shit! Here's a woman who really, I'm sorry, there's not much, and she looked so beautiful. Really, I was almost mad at myself. Oh my God! And I don't care what you look like. If you love yourself, that energy is life-changing. I guarantee you, she could walk in a bar and get guys to look at her over any other little bombshell insecure girl, because she had this smile and this walk. And so as women, I don't care what you look like. If you can tap in and love whatever it is, your cellulite, your scar, whatever it is, and just really love it, it changes everything. It really does. And we walk differently, we talk differently, we stand differently. So self-love is so important to me. People beat themselves up, so women especially beat ourselves up so much. And if we could just stop that talk, we talk all day long to ourselves. Our self-talk is so, every human, we have self-talk, but if you can change your self-talk and tell yourself how amazing you are and catch yourself every time you're putting yourself down, or every time you say, I don't, anything, I've even heard my son say really bad things to himself over and over again. And I'm working really hard on changing that. He gets mad at a video game, and I've even heard him say, I want to die. He's mad and he just is so frustrated. With that verbiage, it's, even though you're just saying it for attention or whatever, is so bad for your brain to hear over and over and over again. So I think self-talk is so important.
So overcoming obstacles, making magic happen, and understanding our self-talk and how we love ourselves. We have people from every different walk of life on this call watching us. We have business owners, we have men, we have women, we have leaders of companies, we have people who've been furloughed, we have health and wellness, we have coaches. And when you look at right now, and if you had a message to get out to anyone, what would that message be?
Back to self-talk. I think that is the most important thing. Self-talk, and taking time to figure yourself out. I'm really a strong believer in self-care, right? Gut health. So our gut is a brain, and it affects so much. So I think a lot of people are home eating, drinking wine, sulfates. That really upsets us. Taking time, and Brad had those vitamins that he put on. I bought those vitamins after the last meeting.
Okay.
Unbelievable. I have them right here next to me. And so I think that people taking time for themselves, self-talk, and then doing some research and taking some healthy vitamins and eating really clean and taking this time to do that really will affect our mood and how we feel. So I guess self-talk, journaling, writing goals. I think we get kind of lost, especially if people are stuck at home and or lost their job and they don't know where to go. Start writing down what that looks like. I mean, it's as simple as like The Secret. I don't know if anyone watched The Secret. It's a little cheesy, but my goodness, every time I revisit it, law of attraction is so important. And like I said, law of attraction. So our story is important. If you lost your job, or if you're sick, or you don't feel good, or your wife is sick, or whatever's going on, that's still part of your story. So you don't want to pretend like it's not happening, but you also want to visualize where you want it to go. And so that's really important to me for people to do, is even when you're stuck at home and you can't leave, lay in bed and visualize what you want this to look like, what the dream job you want, what, healthy relationships you want, and your brain will start to listen.
Well, and you have to do that all the time, because you are the one that makes magic happen. Like literally, yeah. When I say make magic happen, I listen to Eric. He's like, oh my gosh, this is happening, this happening. You're like, oh, no. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. You had a jewelry line that you were going to bring in. He's like, that's not our brand. And you go, we will sell it. Watch it. And then all of a sudden you had something and someone wanted to buy all of it. But if that's just your story, yeah. When you want something, Amber, we see it over and over. And
yeah. I'll tell you, yesterday I wanted to do I didn't realize Mother's Day was Sunday. Mother's Day is our big market. And Mother's Day, I was making kits, and I have a lot of influencers. And I said, gosh, I want to get this kit to Amanda Statton. She's one of the girls from The Bachelor. She really likes me. And her mom uses my skincare. Her and her sister use my skincare. And I was making a kit, and I have an open house where people can not come inside, but they do curbside pickup. And Amanda came over with her mom and goes, we just came to surprise you. I literally said her name 30 seconds before she walked up the door. I was like, whoa, I just said your name. She's like, my mom's in town. How are you? We wanted to get some skincare. And I said, these are the Mother's Day boxes. Can I gift you one to post for us? Because when she posts, she has over 1 million followers. And she pulled up seconds after I said her name. When you start to tune in to what you want, you literally can attract everything you want. And I watched a friend yesterday. I have some people helping me. We're remodeling. We're cleaning the spa and making it COVID safe, right? We're just really sterilizing everything. And I watched someone trip over something, and then his thing broke, and everything he was doing was bad. And I watched him manifest a disaster. I watched it happen. And I stopped him. And I said, listen, will you do me a favor and go home and watch The Secret? It's cheesy and it's dumb. And I want you to just, I couldn't tell him you're manifesting this, but he goes, every time I do a job, something breaks, and blah, blah, and he started getting mad. Yes, things break, but if you keep going with it, it will get worse and worse and worse. If you hit a red light and you go, oh my God, I'm at a red light, you will hit every damn red light till you get there. But if you go, okay, it's just one red light, I'm still alive, I still have my car, I still have my breath, and you're going to hit every green light. So when you go to that gratitude place, everything just zooms through in life. And I watch people do it all the time, and I wish I want to grab them and say, stop. You don't need to give all this energy. Let's give the energy to what you have, hands to break it. You have eyes to see.
Who taught that? Because there a lot of times we have role models and mentors in our life.
My mom.
Okay, your mom did.
Especially after Driven Leadership, and I couldn't imagine taking a class like that and being told you have months to live. And I go back to what she must have thought when she was there. But holy shit, she was already into, my parents were into law of attraction and Secret. When The Secret came out and I watched it and I was so into law of attraction, they giggled because they've been living that their whole life. My dad's, one of his first dates with my mom, they were at the top of a building, and he pointed down to in Newport at the ocean. There's a certain area. He goes, "I'm going to have a health club there one day." They were 17. My dad opened the health club when they were 20. So he did it. My parents had it. They knew how to tap into it. So much so that my mom thought she can get rid of cancer with it. That's how good she was. She can literally manifest anything. After Bold, I mean, the week after Bold, I think she was with Joan Rivers having lunch. I mean, she can just manifest anything. So, but I'm lucky because I grew up with it, so I got to see it, right? And then I have another aunt who I love to pieces, but she could be negative. And I watch how people, she has a great life, but I'm just saying when you give that energy and whatever's going wrong, we can give the sky is falling all the energy in the world. Or we can give, this is about to open back up. What do we want it to look like and get excited for that? It's the same energy. Well, what are we going to give it to?
So it's going back into, it's a choice. And we have to be aware of our
100%.
thoughts. And I absolutely 100% agree with that because I watch it all the time. We're at choice. Something happens. And we can either give the negative, to shut down, to blame, to get frustrated. And sometimes we're actually right in feeling that way. Like it,
yes,
but
yes.
we don't have to take that on. We can shift
Correct.
and pivot with it.
I
And
tell people, feel it. Yeah, feel it and move on.
so in the time of a pandemic, being shut down, coming back to just overcoming obstacles and making magic happen, you created a way that people could come and buy stuff from you. So your online sales, they exploded beyond anyone's wildest imagination.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it's so much the change that's happening within Facial Lounge, you were able to expand. You're in the midst, you bought a whole other piece and you're growing in the midst of a pandemic, which goes back into mindset. And for all of those who get to listen to this, just to know that where you're at right now, we're at a choice. We're at a crossroads, and you can either stay victim or you can step up going, what else do I want?
Yeah.
And allow yourself to dream, because in that dreaming is where we start to plan, to think, to create, and to be.
Mm-hmm. And also letting go of things. So the things I cannot control. Mm-hmm. So I notice a lot of people try to use law of attraction almost to get what they want out of their marriage or make someone change or do something. It's only about you. I can't change anyone else what they're doing. And that's another thing, is surrendering bad decisions people make and not trying to control those. And that's a very new thing that I've learned. So even though when things are not going my way that I can't control, letting those go. So we can't control the pandemic. We can't stop it. It's uncontrollable. But what we can do is change our actions. If someone's doing something like a boss or a spouse or something that we don't like, we cannot change them. We can change ourselves, and it's not our job anymore, and letting those things go. That's a really newer, I think Eric really helped me see that space. And that's a newer thing, because I think that people want to, like I said, blame everything or give it so much control. And yeah, letting things that are out of our hands and telling ourselves this has no, I have to remind myself this when I look at our numbers and realize that we have a membership-based business and we have zero money coming in from the membership. That scares me because it took me 19 years to build. I keep going, I didn't do anything wrong. Mm-hmm. Those people all come back. I did nothing wrong. But seeing that gives me, my brain is like, why do you have no memberships? But I didn't do anything wrong. They're going to come back. And so, so this is a very scary place for people, but if they can keep reminding themselves it's temporary, yeah, it's going to get better.
I love that. Well, and I had posted something yesterday on you about different things that you inspire me and why I absolutely love you. And one of the things about you, Amber, is you live Zig Ziglar's golden rule, that the secret to getting ahead is to help other people get ahead. And you connect. You are a connector. You are a giver. And I watch you over and over. You'll give the shirt off your back. You give people opportunities, ideas, because you just want people to be better. And in doing so, that's why I believe that things keep opening up for you as well, because you can't outgive the giver. It is the law of attraction. The more you give, the more you receive. And it's not just giving,
Absolutely.
it's
Yeah.
because that's who you are.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to open it up. I know that there's some people still in here. If you have questions for Amber and you'd like to know a little bit about just her skincare line or anything about how she's gotten to be where she's at, just raise your hand or put something in the chat bar, and I know that she would love to talk to you. And side note, for those of you who do not know, Amber, when we talk about overcoming obstacles, so not only does she have all the things from her childhood and past and the loss, but she struggles with severe ADHD, a single mom. And I'm going to tell you, if anyone can do it, and I watch you over and over, and you're such an inspiration, such a light to me. There's no excuse for anyone. Like, there's absolutely no excuse.
No. And when your mind goes into people, just get organized. It's so hard for me as a single mom with 2 kids running a business. I could drive some people nuts, and I have to realize I'm not for everybody. But gosh, if you get me, you'll be fine. It's okay. And that's another thing. I have to realize I'm in my lane. When you're in your lane and you're good, don't worry about people's opinions. If they don't get it, they don't get it. It's not my problem. And yes, I move 10,000 miles an hour, and sometimes I zigzag all over the place. When you said Zig Ziglar, I was like thinking it's hilarious because I zigzag, but with heart. And when you go all over the place, but you still have your goal in mind, you'll still get there. It might just take me a little longer.
That's awesome. Yeah, you are a squirrel. It's like bright, shiny object. We had you in a couple classes. It's like Amber's just like, woo, and else she's like, woo, but you always come back. Like, you always come back.
Yeah.
And I love just staying in your lane, just being who you are, and it's okay. Like, just own it. Own it. And I have Patricia Jameson here. She said, as you've created this business and built it from the ground up, how have you separated leadership and management leadership? Any advice?
I lead from my heart, and I run a business not how anyone else would probably run a business. And so I think that taking the classes, I took a lot of classes from Driven Leadership, really taught me how to lead. And that's when the changes happened. Letting your ego go. I don't always have to be right. Letting my team win, letting everyone win around me. That is probably the most important thing. I want to build everyone up. I don't have to be the best esthetician. I don't have to be the best. I want everyone around me. If some people are better than me around me, that makes me look good. So I think that's the most important thing to me, is making sure that everyone wins and letting my ego out of it, really.
And you do that really, really well. Vicki said, I want to know how you got started in making your products. Where do you even begin? I'm in the beauty industry. She's a hairstylist. Vicki Masis is amazing. She just went to Belden.
I like to talk to her after.
For hair, I want to use my expertise to create a line of products and share with any people. Any advice?
Yes, it's a very fun and exciting journey. I actually was, like I said, I worked at Mother's Market in the 90s, and I ended up starting to rep the company. So I was a rep for all the small little skincare, actually not small. There's Dr. Hauschka, which is big from Germany, Borlin, Gabrielle. I had all these companies. So I was the rep for them. So I got to go to, before Whole Foods, it was Wild Oats, and there was Henry's and Boney's, which is Sprouts now. And I was a rep for all the skincare. And what I found is I went to UCLA, and one of the professors was testing products. So you got to bring skincare in to see if it was good or bad. Well, she was genius, because if there's anything that was bad, she contacted the company. They would hire her to fix it. So I would bring all the skincare in that I was using, and fell in love with making skincare. And so I'd love to talk to her separately. There's a lot of different labs that I tell people there's a lot of things that you don't want to formulate. Don't make your skincare at home. Things can go rancid. There's stabilizers, there's certain oils. So a lot of companies actually have it figured out. They study, they do stability testing, and then they sell these things, especially hair products, to different companies. And I know a lot of them. I can talk to her. So it's almost like you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Let the experts make it. Do your research, find something you love, and then market it and make sure it's something that you love. But she doesn't have to make it from scratch.
All right. Hey, Vicki, I'll send you Amber's information. You're okay with that, right, Amber? Knowing you.
Oh, yeah.
Nikki Hickman, Small World. I'm Roy and Kathy's daughter.
Oh, wow.
Nikki's worked with Eric. Great to hear your story. Thanks for sharing, being a voice of inspiration.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. Amanda Christensen. Oh, it's good to see you on here. With everything going on in your life, so many ideas, how did you focus and create a path to be so successful? What processes did you use or tips to stay on track?
Self-talk. I got off track 7 million times. And every time I got off track, I would wake up in the morning and do a self-talk on how to get back on track. So setting a huge goal and medium goals and daily goals. And I have very big goals. And sometimes they're overwhelming. When you see that big goal, you go, how am I going to do this? And you go down to the daily goal. And my daily goal today is like 5 things. Like go to Home Depot. You know what I mean? But getting those, and it's that simple. Mailing a paper I have to mail in. So just setting the goals and really sticking to it. And no matter what goes on in your day, write 3 things down that you have to get done every single day and make sure you get those done, and everything else will follow. So making the big goal and writing all the little goals to get to it.
Well, that's what I absolutely, today's day 1. And if you focus on today and you set 3 goals, in fact, the brain, there are studies that show if you put 1 to 3 things and that's your focus, you will accomplish them.
Yep.
You go 4 to 9, you may do 1. If you do over 10, you're like squirrel and you don't do any because you're all over the place.
Yeah, I put 3 things on my plate, and then once I get those done, I might do another 3. And sometimes I'm working until 2 in the morning. I mean, it's hilarious because I answer DMs sometimes at night for my business, and I'm like, sometimes I'm like, I'm answering at 2 in the morning. I hope they don't think I'm crazy, but that's when my brain has time to do it. So it's hilarious.
You know, Amber, I just adore you, and your mom's proud of you.
Thank you.
Like your mom, she's proud of you.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I actually can feel her. I hear her a lot. It's so hard, especially with Mother's Day, so hard. But I tell people things don't make sense. They don't have to fit in the box that you thought they were going to be in. Not having my grandma and my mom is just so hard. And being a single mom with 2 kids, and my ex-husband moved on. He has a new family. That's hard. There's no way around that. But guess what? I have me. I have my health. I tell people, go down to the dumbest shit. I have eyes that see, a nose that smells, you know what I mean, ears that hear. That is, can you imagine if any of those senses were taken away? Or, you know, I have dreams that I can still accomplish. Even if shit hit the fan, guess what? I'm going to start all over again. And we're going to start, you know, facial boutique or whatever it is. Like, it's not going to happen. So I think just staying on track and staying positive. I mean, gratitude. Just give thanks I don't give a shit if you have a shitty husband. Be grateful that, you know, whatever stupid thing he did, try to be grateful for that, because when you do that, it will actually change the relationship. Even though I have an ex-husband, we have a very good relationship because I have gratitude that my kids have a father. I mean, that's
always a lesson. Yeah. It's like, thank God for the dance that Garth.
I mean, thank God. Yeah. Sometimes I go, oh, this is going to be, I do comedy. This will make a good story. I mean, even when shit hits the fan so bad, I'm like, this is going to be such a good story for my friends, you know? So if you ran out of gas and you have no shoes on, I mean, that's happened to me. That's a fun, you know, it's like, you can't write this shit, you know? So one time I decided to help. I have sheets for my spa. And I literally was wearing a dress with schmutz all over it from cooking. I had 2 different shoes on because I couldn't find my shoes. And there was a homeless guy on PCH. So I said, I'm going to give him these sheets. Okay. So I get out of my car with literally a flip flop and a high heel. And I just, like, it was so bad. And I'm giving, 10 of my clients, including my ex-husband, happened to drive by, and everyone's like, are you okay? Are you okay? And I'm like with these dogs and homeless people. So it's like, you cannot write. No, it's so funny. And, people are pulling over, checking on me. I'm like, no, I'm just giving sheets to a homeless guy. Like, you cannot write. So it's like, you can't put yourself, I should have never pulled over. That everyone saw me. It was funny. But when you just let your ego go and let it do.
Like, that is you. And that's like life in a nutshell, that if we don't care and we just are, and we step into who we are, and we go out there and we make a difference, we can't make it up. But it's funny. No. It's important to laugh at.
Oh, the shit show that I bring sometimes. I can't even, I can't write half of it, and I love it. You know, when my kids, I mean, one of my kids has a black eye because, you know, his brother, they got in a fight over, it's hilarious what goes on. And I'm like, you know what? They love each other. We have our moments. And everyone walks by, what happened? He's like, he punched me. I'm like, you know, yeah, like, let's not, I look like a horrible mom. But yeah, I'm like, you know what? I can't. The good news is they're stuck at home this week. So because of COVID. So I'm like, just ice your eye, it'll be fine. But yeah, no, I don't let people's opinions, navigate what I want to do. I might care what you think, just to be nice, right? But I don't really, even like stuff for my own social media and stuff. I do it because I love it, and if people don't get it, it's okay. It's for me. But I think a lot of people live for impressing other people. But if there's a picture I think I look good in, my butt looks good in, or my eyes look good in, if I want to post it because I feel good, fine. If I want to post a silly picture of my kids doing whatever makes me happy, there's no rhyme or reason. And I think that feels good to people. So people don't have to impress. I mean, I have a lot of friends who have social media with these relationships that aren't real. And I said, I'd rather have a real relationship with no pictures than, you know, so I said, stop living for what people think, or if you just let that go and not worry. And if you're not in a healthy place, that's okay too. You can work on yourself and pull away and revisit it. You don't have to fulfill things that you think people expect from you. Because trust me, they're worried about their own relationship, their own butt, their own cellulite, their own, you know what I mean? Their own eyebrows, their own husband, their own wife, whatever bothers them, they're worried about that. They're not worried about yours. So if someone's on social media for 2 seconds with an opinion, they're going back to their real life with their real problems. So I tell people, don't overthink it, and don't assume, you know.
Well, Amber, it was such an honor, such a pleasure having you on here. And
I love you, Mary. You are amazing. What you and Eric do for people, and the space that you give people to let them grow, is life-changing. And there's not a lot of people who are doing it from this real place. There's a lot of businesses who do it, but when it's real and you give people a place to grow and be themselves, whatever they are, whatever that is, you guys are the magic. You guys are the secret, because like I said, I 100%, with all the knowledge I know, would not be here without that structure, without the classes, without that feeling. And I know how to make magic happen, but you got to have a team, and you got to believe, and you have to have people who believe in you. And I had a lot of people not believe in me, and a lot of people, that's another thing. Don't let people's opinions, but when someone believes in you and you have it, holy shit, world, watch out. So you give people that place, you believe in people, and what a gift that is for the world. Honestly, I have recommended so many people, and I want to recommend. I swear that half the world went to this and really worked on themselves and became better parents and better people and better leaders and better, you know, everything. Think of how much better the world would be. That's one of my gifts that I want to do for the world, is everyone have that space.
Well, I just want to thank you, and just thank you for everyone who's on. And if you want to get in touch with Amber, I know I sent the feedback poll. I think I can read.
She's a texter, not an emailer.
Yeah, she's a texter.
They can text me.
So
yeah.
I have your information, and if you want her information, let me know, and I'll make sure that you get.
Yeah, just text me. No questions asked. Yeah. Yes, my phone number.
Well, have an amazing rest of your day, everyone.
Thank you.
If you want to be on as an interviewee, let me know. If you know someone who you go, that would be someone who'd be inspiring, someone who has tools, absolutely. Next week, we have Dylan Rucker. He is the owner of DS Heating and Air. His story is insane, and absolutely his view and his passion about how to stay engaged to create consistent results. He's just a down-home homie that will just inspire you and give you tools. So we'd love to have you next week as well. Have a great day, everyone. Thanks, Amber. Love you.
Bye.
Happy Mother's Day.
Thank you. Thank you. Happy Mother's Day to you.